All right. Good morning, everyone. My clock now says 9, which means it's 9 in Norway, 10 in Finland, and I think we can get ready to start this webinar. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for participating and joining us today as we're going to be speaking about some cool technology. You've all heard about it, you're all here for it, and we're going to be deep diving a bit into Microsoft Fabric with the tagline Beyond the Dashboard, Rethinking Your Data Landscape with Microsoft Fabric. Let's see now, do it like this probably to be able to change the slides. Good. We're not going to spend too much time on the kind of intro slides and the sales slides and stuff like that. This is a bit about Innofactor and who you're listening to right now. We are a fully Nordic company and our specialty is Microsoft technologies, which is also why we're probably quite good at speaking about today's topic. You can read more about that later and after the webinar. This is some of our offerings. Once again, we're now talking to you from the platforms section of our organization, kind of where all of our cloud infrastructure, data and analytics, modern work and security is, and also where we bundle in the nice product of Microsoft Fabric. But this is the interesting part. Welcome from all of us. These are the people that you will be listening today, mostly not from me. Thank God for your sake. You'll be listening to some of my fantastic colleagues who are far better equipped to talk about some of the case studies that we'll be going through and the topics of today. You'll be hearing from Mikko as a wholesome and all-round data profile with many years of experience in the field, and he has wide knowledge about what data needs the organization has. We're also very lucky to have Turkka on the call. He's a Microsoft Star Attaché here to give us some insight as a seasoned solution specialist in the field of data and AI. We're lucky to have Tapio on the call, who's going to be pitching one of the cases that we're currently working on as well on Microsoft Fabric, and he's our superb data scientist specializing in statistical analysis and very well versed in the world of AI. And luckily, a last entry as well. We have some from the original invite. You saw Carl's name, but today we're kind of lucky to have Ville on the call instead. Carl is sick. Ville is a superb entry to the guest list. He's our data engineer here at Innofactor, and he's very good at Microsoft Fabric, and he'll be talking about one of the cases and how he's been navigating the world of business problems with Microsoft Fabric. And then lastly, and probably leastly as well, my name is Peter. I'm the team lead for data and AI at Innofactor Norway and Denmark, well versed in the world of data strategy and business use cases. Here's today's agenda. Welcome and agenda is where we're at right now. Then we'll be talking a bit about what's the issue of kind of the past of data platforms. We'll be talking about too many tools, too little insight. Very happy to hear more about that from my colleague Mikko. Then Turkka is going to be talking about how Fabric actually tackles that in the years to come. And then the best part of today's webinar, and hopefully why most of you are here, actually talking about real life use cases for Microsoft Fabric. We'll be talking about some different sectors, some different sizes. Hopefully some of it will hit most of you, and you can get some real life inspiration as to how it would fit into your organization. And then I'll do my very best to wrap up all the smart things said with a nice little bow at the end. Just to see how many of you are actually awake, we're going to be starting a bit here with a poll. So on your screen, you should be able to see very soon a poll, and it's appearing now. Click the answer that you feel is best for your organization, and we'll give you a minute or two but it's basically where is your organization currently on its data modernization journey. So give you a minute or two, and we'll close down that poll and share the results, and then get started with the main body of the webinar. So hopefully everyone is, well, I know Finland, you're already well into your working day. So you, for you guys, this is actually a break from the morning program. For Norway and Sweden and Denmark on the call, you guys might actually have this as your breakfast webinar, and we're very happy that you want to share the start of your day with us. All right, and I can see that the answers are dwindling down, so I will close that. Now you can share the results as well with you guys. So you can see most of you already in the middle of this, and some of you are planning, but very few kind of modernized completely. All righty. Let's see here. Now should get back to it again, and as always, there. Mikko, please tell me more about kind of where we've been and what the complexities of the previous data platforms were.
Thanks, Peter. There are many things affecting our kind of work area. Actually, I think the most traditional one is the silos. There are tools, there are workflows, there are separate systems, quite a few of them, and they make our life harder. The silos can be caused by many things. Perhaps we have water company, perhaps we have some old software installed. I worked once with the Finnish telecom company that had kind of 2 data warehouses. Both were big ones, but it was really hard to move and combine them because there was so much data, so much processes, so many different ETL systems. And of course, these different systems and silos introduce a lot of complexity, a lot of fragmentation, slowing kind of the movement of data between systems. The second point is that there are, partially because of the first one, there are multiple copies of data. We have moved, say, financial data, several different reporting tools, several, perhaps one data lake or few data warehouses, as I mentioned before. And this can cause different problems because the governance part is hard. You have to be able to govern the way the data is moved. And sometimes just simple update cycles are different. One tool can show data from different era of time. When there are several systems, of course, some sort of latency issues come up. Some tools can ingest just files like CSV files. Some have direct data issues. But for example, I work with Finnish tax authorization, and they have like the ERP system that only ingests CSV files. Then they output data from data warehouse through files, and of course you have to have some sort of time slot to enable that. And always there's half an hour gap. It means that the data is never real time. And when the systems are big enough, they are really not agile enough. Today's business landscape needs to be fast. It needs to be able to react to different business needs, to different operational challenges we face. And if the system is simple enough, then it's easier to change. I'll show in one of the use cases later, kind of the complex and the less complex option available. But the fifth thing is the cost. More tools means more costs. Also because we are hard pressed to kind of follow what we are doing, how many data loads we are doing. We sometimes load too much data. The storage of data costs, the computation costs. If there are several tools, each traditionally have a licensing fee. Sometimes we use traditional databases instead of like data lakes, and they cost a bit more. Or we have several different cloud data-based platforms. And we could have tools like Databricks, which is again a separate tool to be bought. So the total cost of ownership is high, and that's one of the reasons we want to aim for kind of clearer and more focused solution. I think Turkka has a solution for us.
Yes, but first I'll grab onto the audience's attention once more, and we'll rattle you guys with let's see, with the let's move this window to share. We're going to have another poll, and I can do that. And so I tried to fix everything else again. What are the biggest challenges with your current data architecture? So you guys can we can test your ability to stay awake once more, and we can get some answers as we wait for Turkka's next slides. I should be ready to go once you guys are done with your answers. And I can already give you some insight as to what most of you are answering. It is dispersed. I'll give you a few more seconds to answer. I think most of you are answering the polls, which is very good and gives us some insight to share here as well. Giving you a minute, and we're on the same voting percentage as earlier. And here you go. So most of you answered too many disconnected systems, but also a few of you kind of lacks of internal skills. Very natural, very natural for organizations in any size, maturity, and scale, I would say. Good. We are back, and then I think we can give the word over to our star attaché from Microsoft, Turkka. Please feel free to take us through.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I hope I'm audible. All right. Yeah. So hello, everybody. My name is Turkka Hämäläinen, and I'm coming from Microsoft Data and AI Sales. First of all, thanks for taking the time for joining the webinar, and going to a little bit shed a light over that. What is Fabric? What kind of problems it's going to solve, and why you should actually consider that as a part of your analytics stack. If you could jump on this next slide, please. Great. So traditionally, if you've been building a data platform, that means that you would be probably compiling it from a multiple different products. As we were hearing by the previous speaker, that this is one of the problems that customers are often addressing, that let's say you want to build data pipelines. You need to provision Azure Data Factory on your ecosystem. If you want to visualize data, that means that you need to provision Power BI. If you want to analyze streaming data, that means that you need to put an Azure Data Explorer on top of your stack. And overall, I mean, these all products, they are good. They are well proven and customers are getting a lot of help out of that. But that means that you need to also be an Azure professional, not only data professional, to be able to use these products correctly. They all scale separately. They all generate a separate bill. And out of that, it might be a little bit complex to manage. Especially for smaller organizations, it might be actually quite too heavy workload for do. Then, on the other hand, if we can go to the next slide, please. Quite a lot of these products, they are well recognized. So if we think about, for example, Microsoft in data visualization, we are market leader. Then artificial intelligence, that's the same thing. We are on the upper right quadrant. Databases as well, we are there on the top, and data integration. So all of these products, they are good, but using them might require a little bit more know-how than your company actually has in this case. Then, next slides, please. This is what the customers are telling us. Try to unify the stack. That I'm a chief information officer. I don't want to focus on how my systems are being integrated together. Help me that how can I get some benefit for my organization out of these systems instead of just keeping them up and running. Next slide, please. Then if we think about this, is also something a little bit bigger, what is going on behind there. So Power BI is one of the best-selling products that Microsoft has. It's extremely widely adopted. We have almost 400,000 organizations globally using it. There's a partner ecosystem of 7 million developers worldwide. And Microsoft Fabric is something that has been designed around this. So it's kind of safe bet for customers to consider that should be looked into this fabric that since we are already using Power BI. But yeah, considering what is Fabric and what kind of problems it's actually addressing. So first of all, it's an AI-powered complete data platform. All of these previous problems that were basically presented there, that data is in silos, you need to integrate the tools, all the components, they are scaling separately. Those are something that Microsoft has been trying to diminish and get rid of them when designing Fabric. If you would go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so we look at some of the products that I was showing earlier then in the slides like Data Factory, that does exist in Fabric as well. There's a different analytics tools, there's a capability for running real-time data. You can even run operational databases on top of Fabric. But what is the difference here is that the idea is that when there's this Microsoft new generation data lake on the bottom called OneLake, you need only one copy of data, first of all, that you would be bringing to OneLake. And these tools on top of Fabric, you don't need to separately start scaling them and figuring out how they are running. It just works. You can provision them on top of it. Obviously, you still need to know how to use the product itself. That is something that we haven't been able to solve yet, that how to make them also more easier to use. But running these requires minimal effort anymore. It's software as a service. It just works. And this, first of all, is something that makes it very appealing for organizations to take a look into. Then if we go next slide, please. The second part, what Fabric is solving, is related to this data integration. So quite a lot of organizations, they still end up building a lot of point-to-point integrations. You might have a wide network of data pipelines going around the organization. And even though it works, it brings stiffness and complexity. So how OneLake, which is the next generation data lake underlying Fabric, is solving this problem. So the idea is that this would be a place where you can bring all of your organizational data that you feel like it might have some value for AI or for analytics. It automatically indexes the data for discovery. You can label them through Fabric and make it basically extremely governable. But how you can get the data to OneLake, this is the most interesting part. Next slide, please. The option for building traditional data pipelines does exist. It's not going anywhere. It's well-proven technology. Azure Data Factory is available in Fabric with the new branding called Fabric Data Factory. But it's basically quite similar product. There's a plus 170 connectors for existing systems. It's very easy to pull data from different sources and bring them to one lake. So the skills that your organization might already have with Data Factory, those skills are not getting outdated. You can still use them with Fabric. However, there's other options existing now as well. Next slide, please. And this is where Fabric is getting actually interesting, and we're talking about how you can unify the data in a multiple different ways. So traditionally, you were building data pipelines. Now you have other options. Fabric is supporting something called shortcutting and mirroring. What does this mean? So shortcut is basically something that you open a sort of a gateway to your source data. You don't necessarily need to copy it on one lake. You can see the data there. It's basically under your data ecosystem, but you haven't brought it to one lake yet. And this gives a way better visibility of what kind of data your organization have. And then you can use this shortcut also for copying the data to one lake for processing if you want to do. But maybe the most interesting and modernizing part of the Fabric that hasn't been available yet in a multiple data platforms is the mirroring of databases. So database is often the nemesis in a way that there's a lot of data existing and it might be difficult for building the data pipelines. You don't necessarily want to build a overly extensive copying from the database through to the fact that it can cause stress for the source system. Now it's very easy. You open the gateway wherever your database is residing. You basically make a copy out of it on one lake, and after that, you start reading the change data to one lake, and you have real-time replica residing on top of one lake. And on top of this, it's free. Microsoft is not charging the storage. We are not charging the compute. You can just replicate your database here and then start analyzing the data with Fabric. The analyzing part is something that you need to pay for, but getting the data here, that's for free now. Next slide, please. There's still a little bit limited amount of connectors available for this, but we are all the time bringing more. And then on top of this, there is something called a open mirroring. If next slide, please. So if there's a data source that you actually want to mirror on top of Fabric, but it is not yet supported, there's a possibility for basically build this kind of a custom mirroring via API and do this manually. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, this is a little bit representing what is that about. However, what I want you to take home from this is that there's a variety of different options now to bring the data on one lake, which means that you can unify your data platform. Then next slide, please. Yeah, this is, by the way, also something what is worth mentioning is this shortcut transformation. So previously, when using these shortcuts for opening the gateways from different data sources all over your organization, you were able to copy the data from source folder to destination folder for usage. You can actually do transformations now on top of that. So you can build the logic inside of Fabric, and once the data is being copied, it also does the transformation. So it's resembling a little bit of ETL pipeline. However, it's not. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, so now let's talk a little bit about the AI capabilities and the direction where Fabric is going. So what Fabric is trying to do, it's going to bring AI for every business user. It should be integrating extremely well with Microsoft 365, and it should bring productivity gains for whoever is using this and bringing new ways for the organizations for utilizing the data. So Fabric basically has 3 different ways for using AI. So we have these Copilot accelerated experiences, which means that it's for developers, whoever is, let's say, developing a data warehouse on top of Fabric or building a real-time intelligence event house. It's a possibility for using natural language for doing this, and that reduces the amount of code that you actually need to write there. And in the right hands, it gives you a significant productivity spike. Then Fabric is offering the possibility for the end users for gaining insights out of the data by using natural language. And then the newest thing what we've been bringing is that how you can use custom generative AI on your data. Next slide, please. So this is how this AI-driven insights, for example, in Fabric would look like. So on Power BI. So basically you have a report there. You could just write there some questions and give me some insights about this data. And if the data is in a correct format, you would be actually getting something out of it. This is something what financial departments, they are giving quite a lot of positive feedback out of this. Next slide, please. And these Copilot experiences, they are now available in all Fabric capacities. So previously we were requiring for capacity called F64, which might be a little bit pricey for some organizations. Now, if you just buy the smallest possible Fabric capacity, you are able to use any of these. Next slide, please. So how Fabric is going to look now in the future. So we have recently rebranded something called Fabric AI Skills into Fabric Data Agents. This is extremely interesting. That means that you can, the data that you have brought into one lake, you are capable of building a custom generative AI experiences on top of it. So, and integrate that, for example, with your Microsoft 365 Copilot and Teams. So what this would make it possible that you write in a Teams, how much was the sales yesterday, and it's going to pick up the data from Fabric and return it back to your Teams channel. Next slide, please. Then talking about using AI with Fabric, we have in Azure something called AI Foundry, which is a portal where you can develop a little bit more complex AI solutions and configure them in more, let's say, deep manner than you would be able to do in Copilot Studio. Fabric has an integration with AI Foundry as well. Next slide. This is also describing how Fabric has now also integration in preview with Copilot Studio. So if you don't want to use AI Foundry, you want to do this low code, no code experience, you can do it in Copilot Studio. And next slide, please. And then maybe the least attention getting, but one of the most important things that we have brought into Fabric is Cosmos DB. Cosmos DB is a NoSQL database that is fast. It can be used for multiple different solutions, and you can now run it on top of Fabric. ChatGPT is running on Cosmos DB. So maybe this makes you think that if you are designing a AI solution and you want a robust database underlying it, you can actually put it on top of Fabric and then use the data on one lake. How you can get your hands on this? Next slide, please. We are offering free Fabric trials just by going to the Fabric portal and click there 60 days for any organizations. Thank you. I would probably give it for the next speaker.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you for giving us some insight. And I think for all of you listening on today's webinar, I had a customer meeting a couple of weeks back where we were talking about Fabric, or I mentioned Fabric, and they said, "Oh, is that the new Power BI?" And well, from your slides, Tuukka, it's very evident that it's far more than people might think, or people hopefully are starting to realize that it is a very unique product. Good. I'll give the word over to you again, Mikko, for the start of our case studies.
Hello. Hello, and good morning. My name is Ville, and in this case study, I am presenting a mid-sized company, and I will give some basic information what kind of company it was. Yeah, basically, its main business was construction and maintaining high-quality homes and properties in Finland, around 180 employees, and generating revenue around 200 million euros yearly. So mid-sized company. And what was the starting point when we first started working in this context, that they were reporting something, and it was mainly done in many different systems, and using Excel to pull data from the system, so not using any modern ways to work in that. Next slide, please. So here you can see the starting point diagram. It looks like a spider web. Lines go everywhere, and there is no strategy how to report or manage data. And our vision was that we pull data from all the systems to this one data platform, and then distribute ready data for semantic models or in data marts to the stakeholders, finance or property managers. So streamlining this mesh, what was the starting point was our vision. Next slide, please. So the solution, how we managed to do that streamlined way to work was we used Fabric as the data platform, and in Fabric we used the medallion system. So there was the bronze, silver, and gold, and in bronze we just pulled all the data from the systems as is, so we can follow the data how it goes in our platform. And in silver we transform and combine the data ready to be used in the gold layer. So in silver we do all the transform process in the ETL process, and gold layer we just distribute and give ready data to our stakeholders, so they don't need to process anymore. So it is ready to be visualized in Power BI or in some other data visualization tool. And next slide, please. So what was our success factors in this case study? Innofactor and customer were working very tightly. We had weekly status checks and work meetings where we worked together and processed the hard things in weekly. So if there was any hard stuff or problematic task, we had two teams, Innofactor and customer team, working same task together. So this way of working, we tackled the hard part in many tasks, and at the same time we teach our customer how to use Fabric and modern tools in data. And this followed that customers trust our competencies and help us to continue working. And this followed that we had the standardized way of working, and when we had standardized way of working, it just speed up implementation so much. So everything rolls basically weekly basis, and we bring value to our customers. Thank you. Next presenter.
Thank you, Ville. Very good, and it's it is a very good project, very cool project, and I think a lot of people could gain a lot of get a lot of value from drawing on our inspiration and our experiences with that project. So thank you for giving us some insight into how it has been done. And it's also almost like a sales pitch in and of itself, the success factors in terms of how you've been working with the customer. All right, let's try another poll to see if people are still here and paying attention. So the question is, we're trying to look a bit into the future now. We've heard from Microsoft on what is coming, and you've heard kind of also how a case study on how this can be done and how it can be implemented. So what areas are actually most critical for your organization in the next 12 months, and where do you want to go with your data work, your data landscape, your reporting in your data platform? So once again, I'll give you a minute to answer this before we share the results. We have 2 more case studies actually to give you even deeper insight into some larger cases and some more advanced cases as well. So this is there's still very cool things to pay attention to here. All right, quite good answers on this one as well. I think very good. Giving you a minute, and thank you all for answering. Still very good answer rate. So it seems like people are awake. You've had your morning coffee, maybe even your second, third cup. So that means that people are here and paying attention. I'll show you the results as well. It's kind of, most of you are talking about improving data-driven decision making, which is obviously to some extent the underlying thing of what we are trying to achieve with almost all of our data work. All right, now I've mixed up the order of the case studies in my mind previously, but now I hope I can give the word over to you, Mikko, to present some of the architecture here.
Yes, thanks, Peter. This is one interesting example of a project that we did with Oulu, city of Oulu. Sorry about this, some of the architecture pictures having Finnish language words, but the idea of this first slide anyway was more talk about the complexity, like I spoke in my previous set, how complex things can be. And the city of Oulu started the project because they wanted to have a change. They had people retiring, and one of the important data warehouse people was retired, and that was the kind of the kickstart of the starting. But also they had older technologies. I'm sure it resonates with many of you that they still had on-prem data warehouse, like traditional SQL Server. They had various tools. They had Microsoft technologies, but they also have things like IBM Cognos, IBM Planning Analytics. And they wanted to have kind of unified platform. So they went for Microsoft technology. It's a good fit for their environment, and it's widely adopted, easy to find help. And of course, they do the cloud migration at the same time. They had us as a partner, but they also used other partners like Microsoft in order to help the growth of the project. As Ville said in the previous project, this Oulu City had like 8 people from them working with our consultants, and that's quite typical for our implementations. We work together with customer to create value. We teach what we know to customers' personnel and help them to build new things. Our way is not like take the definitions and go to a cave and come back a year later with a solution, but we work closely together implementing things. And of course, this kind of big projects have other issues to consider, like security and data masking type of things. And these are important things. This kind of complex scenario that we had earlier was kind of replaced with the next slide type of scenario. I have to admit, I might be lying if I said that this is simple truth. There might still be some hangarounds around the case, but basically they went for the medallion architecture, bronze, silver, gold. So fabric, one lake, fabric tools, finance especially, and then also some other scenarios using machine learning, and that's something Tapio will be telling us a bit more, if I'm correct. Yep.
Okay, thanks, Mikko. Yes, the city of Oulu also had some, in addition to those economics data, they had brought their build permits and related data into the fabric. And this picture shows how the data flows towards a report. The data is brought into Lakehouse, and then it's modified slightly, and the results are written into a data warehouse, from which a semantic model used as data model for the Power BI is introduced, and then the Power BI report is visualizing the results. And the next slide shows how in the same format within Fabric, it was easy to introduce some advanced analytics by bringing in a notebook for calculating forecasts for how the numbers of build permits and related numbers would be developing in the future. The notebook is drawing data from the same lakehouse as the original reports are using, doing the analysis within notebook, and then writing the data back into the lakehouse, from which it's following the same data flows and can be visualized in the same Power BI reports. And in addition to the introduction of these advanced results into the reports, all these data flows can be also automated, so that all the time when new data is introduced into the lakehouse, it's automatically updated in the reports, but also the advanced analysis results are automatically automated. The next slide shows one snapshot of what kind of notebooks we are using. This was no code system, but instead these Spark notebooks allow you to use multiple programming languages. For this project, we chose Python because it's producing, or it's offering a lot of different libraries for any kinds of analysis you can think you would like to do. Essentially, the notebook is doing the standard analytics stuff, first formatting and pivoting the data into proper format for the libraries to use, then doing the analysis stuff, and then again reformatting the data before writing it back into the database. And on the next slide, we have one. This is what we did for this special case. We wanted to see what is the seasonality in the build permits using some stats model seasonal libraries, splitting the data into seasonal component so that we can more easily see how the trend in the numbers of build permits is developing. And this kind of splitting the data also makes it easier to use some external variables, like some figures from economics, countrywide economics, to build better predictions of how the number of permits would be going in the future. And on my final slide, this is just the current results. The green numbers, the green lines show how the numbers of build permits and number of apartments has been developing in the past, and the light green figures show predictions for this year and 2 future years in those same variables. Thanks.
One thing about the Oulu case, I could mention that the notebook functionality in the Oulu case is included in Fabric. You don't need Databricks or something else. You can use just the same Fabric framework. It's in there available. You just have to implement it. Then again, I'm back on. Apparently, seems so familiar slide. The third case study we have is an organization called Sarastia, which is a public sector support provider, and they had this new project in which they wanted to implement reporting for their customers, but as well for internal use. So that's why in the architecture picture, which has loads of small text that at least I can read from this distance, but anyway, that's probably not that important. Still, medallion architecture, it seems to be the way forward in these Fabric installations. It's not a requirement, but I would call it best practice. It's good, it's clear, it's easily understandable. And the upper part is the kind of the internal reporting part, and the lower part is the external reporting. And as with the Oulu and the first case study, we also had a team from our end and architecture and project management and stuff from customer side. Again, a joint adventure in order to provide good solution which truly answers the kind of requirements customer has. This project has been running for perhaps half a year, and it's now finalized. What we learned from this one is that there are, since Fabric is fairly new, like a year and a half or a bit more been around, there can sometimes be some small hiccups in the documentation of the Microsoft sites. Occasionally they are not in perfect order, and that's probably because the development of Fabric is so fast, and in that case, I think it would make sense for customer to use a consultant like us to help them, because we have probably run into those issues that are not kind of documented properly, or we have done these implementations with several customers, so it's quite good to use experience in this kind of thing. They didn't start off using copilots or AI as such, because when they started, the copilots were only in F64 level, but now since the Copilot has opened, we are moving on towards Copilot and other AI. I would say machine learning. Machine learning is a part of AI anyway, but kind of estimates and this kind of things, which would make sense for the customer's success. That's about it, I guess.
Yes, and with that kind of future plans, I think it's also kind of talking about ML and AI and use cases for some of our customers to start looking into. We're very nearly at the end. This is the final poll. I promise I won't bother you anymore after this, and then we'll go through some takeaways and some finishing points. But like Mikko mentioned, Fabric is also a really good starting place for those of you who are interested in kind of taking the maybe not the first steps, but taking your AI and ML use cases into a bit more structured everyday world, and kind of bridging it closely into the world of your business and your business needs. So the question is, where do you see AI, ML providing the most value in your organization's data environment? And I'll give you, as normal, a minute to answer that as I chat on about how this has been very good to have all of you on this call. Seen a lot of you are really paying attention, answering the polls, and paying attention to the webinar. So we appreciate you taking the time, and I will soon give you some takeaways and some additional thoughts as well. Good, and that was roughly a minute. That's very appreciated. I will share the results as well. So it is about automating manual things, and a lot of you are still exploring it. And it's actually the most diverse question we've had, which is also very true about the nature of AI and ML use cases in today's world. You can, if you can dream it, you can do it. And with Fabric, it's even closer than ever before. Good. All right. We're nearly there. We are nearly there. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are unfortunately nearing the end of the presentation and the webinar. But before we go, like I said, I would love to give you some key takeaways to bring home in your luggage. There is more to the world of data platform now than we were accustomed to in the early 2000s, right? Many companies are still struggling with all dispersed systems and setups in which data travels slowly or does not travel at all, or it's duplicated, stored in many different places, and systems have complicated and expensive integrations, where the admin of managing kind of all of these several systems is just too expensive for SMBs or too complicated for enterprise. New systems like Fabric, and we've been talking about Fabric today, so I think that's natural for us to bridge into the world of business much more closely into the work that's being done on the data platform by having an integrated and singular data platform for all of your diverse data uses. Trying to create efficiency in organizations to ensure that businesses can spend time on extracting value from your data, not just moving data around or admin it or kind of being behind on all of your needs. Your data landscape should really fit your lean business, not your business having to adapt to the data landscape that someone tossed into the mix and built 20 years ago. So Microsoft have kindly kind of given us some insight as showing us how Fabric is developing. It's developing very, very rapidly. I will take away the box that even if I try to be do not disturb, it shows up, and I apologize for that. Fabric is developing very, very rapidly. For those of you who looked into Fabric 2 years ago, 1 year ago, it is still developing at a rocket pace, and you should really kind of keep your eye up and out for that. It can be suited for different companies, different maturities, different industries. It will really fit your organization. Just works, is what I try to tell people most of the time. And whether you feel like learning more about how Fabric can fit your needs and your organization, you can always reach out to us. We've talked about some use cases today, but that's just a snippet of what we've done. We've been working with Fabric ever since it was launched. Have a lot of consultants who have both experience with building, we have licenses, and we have tens of projects of, I was going to say tens of thousands, definitely not tens of projects in the space across our Nordic organization that could really, where we could give you some insight into how it would fit your needs. You can see my name on the Scandinavia side of the organization. So if you're a Swede, Dane, or Norwegian, you can reach out to me anytime via email and just have a very nice coffee chat with us around what you would see your future needs being. Or if you're from Finland, you can reach out to my wonderful colleague Mikko, who's been kind enough to share a lot of his data architecture experience from today. So with that, I wish you all, and we're finishing before time as well, as we try to do. Appreciate you all taking the time to be with us here today. Really appreciate you listening in and answering the polls and all of that. And I want to say thank you to Microsoft, and thank you to all of my fantastic colleagues for sharing with your experience today. So with that, I wish you all a happy Tuesday. Goodbye. Or not. But you can leave if you want. Trying to end it for, oh, there it is.